the dirty secrets of the industry is that most companies won't pick it up and they won't take it back. They will simply refund you your money and tell you to keep the mattress for the guest room, give it to a friend. They don't want to hire somebody to come and haul that thing away. And you can't put toothpaste back in the tubes. You can't rebox the mattress and economically ship it back to the factory to resell it. What we do is we actually find a local mattress donation place in the customer's area, and we will pick up the mattress, usually a TaskRabbitor that we hire, and then we'll have that person drop it off at the mattress donation center in that person's area. So it's both a more economical return with tax write-off and donation, as well as somebody's getting something that they can use. Usually a homeless shelter will be super happy to get an unused mattress, and like to brighten people's days that way.
Today, it's my treat to talk to Colin McIntosh, just like the computer, who is the founder and the CEO of Sheets Giggles. I love the name. I'm sure we're going to how that happened. How are you doing today, Colin?
I'm doing well, and I appreciate you mentioning Macintosh like the computer. My retirement plan is that I own Macintosh.ai, and so at some point somebody will come knocking for that.
That's a good benchmark of whether you made it in life. When someone looks at your resume, it's unusual. You got the perfect SAT degree in economics, then you go into a hedge fund for a little bit, admin, then you become a recruiter and do business development to finally go and out of all the ideas in the world, pick bed sheets.
Yeah.
How come?
First off, I need to update my LinkedIn if my SAT score is still on there. You can clearly see that I don't post very often on LinkedIn. I did not realize that information was public.
My score was perfect. I'll probably leave it there forever anyway.
That's a good point. And my parents did make me a t-shirt that I wore for a very brief moment in time when I was a teenager. But yeah, let's see. I went to Emory University. I always went to business school there. I got a job at Bridgewater Associates in Connecticut, world's largest hedge fund. Very odd hiring story. They wanted to hire me as an investment associate. That role started before I graduated in April of 2012. So they were like, hey, sit tight. We'll find you another role. They ended up finding me a role as an admin that started in September. And me being 22, didn't really understand the vast difference in roles and figured that they would keep me in this for maybe a little while and then move to something else. I got fired in 5 months. I was so bad as an admin. I have like aggressive, unmedicated ADHD, and it's a superpower for a founder, but it's a disaster for an administrative assistant. It was funny too. It was like, how the hell did this kid get hired into this role? And big explanation. I think somebody else got fired. Anyway, so first job, fired out of school, didn't know what I was going to do. I ended up becoming a recruiter. That the company that hired me there, ironically, I was a third-party recruiter, and I recruited for banks, hedge funds, startups, and that third kind of category, startups, is what really fostered my love for early-stage companies, startups, tech. I knew nothing about technology. I went to Emory for economics, finance, business law, and I just fell in love with what these startup clients of mine were building. And I was so upset that I didn't study information systems or computer science at Emory. I was like, God, I can go back in time, because I was so jealous of what my clients were building, so much cool stuff. And I ended up wanting to work at my clients so much that I ended up hiring myself as a business development associate at one of my clients in Seattle. And I ended up flying out to Seattle, living there for 2 of the best years of my life. And then I got an opportunity with a company that was going through Techstars in 2015 when I was a 25-year-old kid. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. My friend Jackie, she called me. I had written a business plan for her with this wearable tech startup maybe 2 years prior. And she said, hey, we got in the Techstars. Do you want to come do this with me? I can pay you $1,600 a month. You can sleep on my couch. And I said, sure, let's do it. So I drove 20 hours down from Seattle to Denver on a total lark. Ended up working our asses off. We raised a few $1 million. Learned everything as I went with unbelievable mentors. And then 2.5 years later, we all got laid off at 1 p.m. on a Monday, as one does when they work for a startup. And I incorporated Sheets and Giggles 3 weeks later. I have not answered your question as to why bed sheets, but the short answer is, at the consumer brand that I went through Techstars with prior to that, I learned a ton about consumer marketing, branding, consumer psychology, direct-to-consumer marketing, retail marketing, business development, pricing theory, logistics, supply chain. And so I really wanted my own consumer brand that I could put that to work with.
And you chose bed linen.
I chose bed, yes. So big space, $15 billion market, highly fragmented, growing about 10% year over year. No market leader, no brand differentiation, no visual differentiation, no switching costs, very easy to pick customers off from other brands. Really, honestly, it was business model first, and then I slowly became obsessed with the brand of Sheets and Giggles, sticking out like a sore thumb in this really big, boring space. And the reason I thought of it initially is a story I've told before. It's a really dumb story. I was watching War Dogs with Miles Teller and Jonah Hill, if you've seen the movie. And Miles Teller's character selling bed sheets out of the back of a pickup truck. And I just got so mad at this character for buying all this inventory and doing no research, no pricing research, no customer research, no demographic research, and just wasting all of his time and money on this. And so I wrote a business plan for a bed sheets company that night. And I always think, what's a funny name for blank whenever I write a business plan and I buy a domain, and Sheets and Giggles hit me like a punch in the face. I just came up with an amazing brand name the other night for a Angie's List competitor that specializes in plumbing jobs. It's called John's Johns. And I bought johnsjohns.com. And if anyone's listening who wants to start that business, that is such a good brand name. You will be successful if you start johnsjohns.com. Anyway, that's how I start business. I get obsessed with the brand name.
Usually you get like a retrofitted story of how you were always obsessed with bed linen and you always wanted to start a business since you were 7, and also first business that you started was selling bed linen lemonade.
No, that shit drives me crazy. I have competitors who are like, they retrofit their stories and they're like, my wife and I, like, we like slept on these sheets in a hotel and we were like, there has to be a better way. And I'm like, that's not what happened. Like, you found a manufacturer who made a product that you could sell at 90% gross margin, and you built a go-to-market strategy in the 2010s when cost per clicks were incredibly low, and you managed to get out in front before the D2C movement died. Like, I wish that, like, the founder of, like, unnamed bedding company that I won't mention spoke like that, because it'd be a lot more useful for people.
Yeah, people are full of it, and it's refreshing to hear this. You're very analytical about it. From what you said, the one thing that surprised me was the 10% year-on-year growth. People borrowed linen to buy more beds? What's going on?
38% of Americans buy new bed sheets every single year. And people now with their mattress, which we now make a mattress at Sheets and Giggles, people replace their mattress on average once every 4 years. That used to be 10 years, like not that long ago. But the way that the market has made it so easy for people to cycle through, free returns, like white glove pickup service, people will replace their mattresses super often now. But bedding, people are buying new bed sheets, almost 4 out of 10 people every single year. It's pretty wild.
Okay, so this is something I've been wondering. If you sell those mattresses, a little diversion here, and you're going to have, I don't know, what percentage of returns. You can't do anything with it. It costs a fortune to deliver it and to collect it. You have to do a full return. Yeah. How does this business even work? Like, what's the situation here?
For a lot of companies like Casper, it doesn't work, right? They don't have the right gross margins. They don't have the right return ratio because they don't have a good product, frankly. And so Casper has something like 20% return rate, which is wild. That's abysmal. We have a 9% return rate on our mattress and like a 6% return rate on our sheets. And we focus really hard on building a good product so we don't have to return a lot of units. But even this is a very particular product, right? People are going to be very particular about, okay, I'm going to sleep in here every night. If I'm tossing and turning, I don't want it. And so we really take the time to put out a Cadillac mattress and a really terrific set of sheets and comforters and blankets and the whole nine. My pillow I have a herniated C6-7, so I made our pillow specifically for my herniated disc. My 4-5 is pretty bad too. And so my pillow is like perfect loft for people with chronic neck pain. So I make products for people in particular, hot sleepers, chronic pain, and that sounds like me for the most part. So I try to make products for me, and then I built the brand for me to make myself laugh. And what ends up happening is I've got a couple 100,000 me's as customers running around out there, but they don't look like me. My customers are like 70 to 80% women, but they're mostly millennials. They mostly have a sense of humor. To mostly answer the question about how the margins work and how it works, you just have to build it into the model and say, look, we're going to spend this much money on returns. We're going to spend this much money on white glove service. With the mattress in particular, one of the dirty secrets of the industry is that most companies won't pick it up and they won't take it back. They will simply refund you your money and tell you to keep the mattress for the guest room, give it to a friend. They don't want to hire somebody to come and haul that thing away. And you can't put toothpaste back in the tubes. You can't rebox the mattress and economically ship it back to the factory to resell it. What we do is we actually find a local mattress donation place in the customer's area, and we will pick up the mattress, usually a TaskRabbitor that we hire, and then we'll have that person drop it off at the mattress donation center in that person's area. So it's both a more economical return with the tax write-off for the donation, as well as somebody's getting something that they can use. Usually a homeless shelter will be super happy to get a unused mattress, and I like to brighten people's days that way.
Nice. That sounds smart. Because these things are no joke. Like I'm like 6'9", so I've got like a Super King or whatever it's called. And that thing must be like 100 pounds or something more. Like just moving this from one room to another is...
Yeah, our queen mattress is about 120 pounds. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's a very interesting one. Let's talk about the early days, because the 0 to 1, to quote a certain person, a lot of people listening to this are there building something in their spare time that they hope maybe one day becomes a thing. Most of these things never become a thing. And the other part is building something actively. I think both groups can take hints from your completely unrelated field to tech. What was the 0 to 1 story for you?
I have a weird knack of going from 0 to 1. I don't know what it is. It might be the ADHD, but I think it's the context switching ability of founder to say, okay, today I'm going to work on customer care, logistics, brand building, copywriting, ad creation, photo shoot, maybe a video, packaging design, and just the ability to do all those things, number one, and the ability to do them well, I think is something that I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but these are hard problems, but they're fun problems. And if I can talk about my 0 to 1 moment with Sheets Giggles in particular, I started the company in October 2017. It's a little while ago now. We shipped our first box October 2018. And then by November 2020, we had our first $1 million month. So that was a very wild 2 or 3 years of come up. And in May of 2018, we did our Indiegogo campaign, our crowdfunded pre-order for Sheets and Giggles, and we raised $284,000 in about a month. And that was probably the proudest achievement of my life, was making thousands of people wait 6 months for bed sheets. And what we did was we really focused on the tactical nature of the campaign. So I wanted to make $100,000 in 30 days. To do that, I knew I needed at least $30,000 on day one, about 30% of my total. Now I think it's closer to 50%, but let's say it's 30%. That means I need $30,000 on day one. To do that, I know that all that revenue is going to come from my email list. And if I have an AOV of $100, then let's say that I need 300 customers at $100 AOV to make $30,000 on day one. And if all those customers, those 300 customers, are going to come from an email list, not your family, not your friends, they don't love you as much as you think, but an email list, then if I need 300 customers, then I need, let's say, a 3% converting email list, which is pretty reasonable. I need 10,000 emails to convert 300 customers on day one. And then you can get those blinders on. You can say, okay, I know what I have to do. If I'm going to do a $100,000 campaign, yada, yada, it all goes back to 10,000 emails before launch day. And so you set up some landing pages, you create some content, you create some copy, you do your value propositions, you do surveys to workshop what resonates with people, what doesn't. And it only costs $70, $80 a month to do like a Shopify store, landing page, app, A/B testing software, price testing software, maybe if you're selling something ahead of time. But really, we were just capturing emails. We were saying, hey, these are the best bed sheets you'll ever try. Here are 3 or 4 differentiators. Here's the price, but here's the price that you're going to get if you give us your email today. do you want to sign up for our campaign? And we started converting emails initially at a 38% clip. And then we got it all the way up through A/B testing. We got it to 46% email capture rate. So we ended up paying to send about 20 to 25,000 visitors to our landing pages, and we collected 11,000 emails in about 8 to 10 weeks of preparation time ahead of the crowdfund. And then we launched on May 1st. Our email list converted to 4.5%, $100 AOV, just like I thought. We generated $45,000 on day one, and then we ended up snowballing into a $284,000 campaign.
And the traffic came from Indiegogo, or did you pay ads to get that?
For the email signups, it was all paid ads on Facebook and Instagram. And then for the Indiegogo, it was a combination of Facebook, Instagram, and Google advertising. But we only spent $10,000 in ads in order to generate that revenue. It was mostly organic, and it was mostly from our email list as well as the Indiegogo platform. We were the number 2 trending product on Indiegogo for a few days, and we made a few of their newsletters, and their newsletters sent us out to people, and that was a really big revenue boost every time they did that. I think of the 284, if I remember correctly, 90K was from discoverability, where people like saw us on Indiegogo and then for the first time, and then 190K was through our email list, Google ads, Facebook ads, other drivers of that.
Nice. And when you say we, that was you with a team, or was it just you at the beginning?
Well, I'll give a shout out to Will Russell Marketing. He's the only crowdfunding agency I'll ever trust, and the only one that I think people should trust. Every crowdfunding agency is like very predatory. I won't name names, but there's a lot of people in this space that like, there are people in this space that have my logo, my Sheets Giggles logo, on their website claiming they did my crowdfund that I did not work with, because they had a phone call with me and they got access to my data to see if they could help us. And they were like, yeah, no, I paid people like $2,000 to explore. That's the thing, is these people in the crowdfunding space, they'll take your money and then do nothing for you, and then have the discourtesy to put your logo on their website taking credit for what you've done. So if you see my logo anywhere aside from Will Russell's website, I didn't work with any of those people. But they won't take it down because they're based abroad and they're like, come get me in court. But basically, Will is my spiritual co-founder. He has a very good, transparent pricing structure. He takes a percentage of the campaign on the back end, so he's incentivized to make the campaign really awesome. And that's a pretty common pricing plan, but it's really hard to know if you're getting taken advantage of or not with that personal referral. And I'm super glad I had known Will prior in my earlier job through the grapevine, and I was able to work with him on Sheets and Giggles. So really it was me, him, one intern I had on my team at the time named Haley, who was college junior, and then Will had an intern as well named Gabriel, and it was just the 4 of us. And Will took all my content, my ideas, my writing, my imagery, and he's the one who ran some of these media campaigns on Facebook. So you do need somebody who's like a pretty, I think, good media buyer, but there are agencies to help with that. You just have to find a good one.
Okay, so my experience with crowdfunding like this is primarily through some fitness equipment that I paid for, then waited longer than I remembered about it, and then suddenly it arrived like a year later. Shit. What's crowdfunding like this good for? Like, what's the ideal fit for that kind of thing?
I think crowdfunding is like, not everybody can invest in early companies, right? You need to be an angel investor, an accredited investor. You have a certain net worth or income. And so I think crowdfunding, not equity crowdfunding, right, which I think is a scam for the most part, but like product building crowdfunding, I think that like product pre-ordering is a really cool way for the average person to say, hey, I really like what this person's doing. I trust them. I like the idea and I want to support it, knowing that 5 out of 10 times, I'm probably not going to end up getting the product, or at least not the product I think I'm paying for. Similar to investing, like 7 or 8 or 9 of 10 investments don't work out and zero out. And the investment game is a numbers game. So I think if people understand that with crowdfunding, they're more like breathing life into a project idea that would otherwise die on the vine, I think that's great. And sometimes it turns into awesome companies and awesome products. My friend Vanessa at Nomad Lane, has a wonderful suitcase company now. She did a $2 million Kickstarter. My friend Jacqueline at Pepper Bras, they're crushing it. They're selling so many bras, like millions and millions of bras. And she started with like a $60,000 Kickstarter in 2017. And so there are wonderful companies that come to life from Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And as a backer, you just have to be, I think, sober about the prospect that these are usually first-time founders who don't have access to traditional capital like venture or debt, and they're asking you to pre-order the product and take a bet.
And hope it arrives.
Hope it arrives. For us, look, I said August. We delivered first week of October. So we were 5 weeks late. And not everybody does that. A lot of people think, yeah, I'll build it in 3 months or 4 months. No, they take a year to do it. We said we budgeted 6 months, and I think that we shipped it in 7. It's hard. We had a 10% defect rate on our first run of products. It was a nightmare. And I shipped all 4,000 boxes myself, my first 4,000, with a buddy named Bobby, who was unemployed at the time, and my first part-time hire, Emily, who became my first full-time hire. Me, Bobby, and Emily, man, we were in that warehouse 8 hours a day shipping boxes, and then I'd send emails at night.
So that brings me to the other question that probably a lot of people are asking themselves right now. So, I would say probably 90% work with software, and the holy grail is to obviously code something that you can then do either as subscription or some kind of SaaS, or you code once and sell a million times. And doing a physical product sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, it sucks.
Especially you have to get it shipped. 4,000 boxes sounds like a lot of work.
It's a lot.
And I don't know what the price tag for your stuff is. Sorry, I didn't check that before. But
anywhere from pillowcases, $40 or $50 to $200 for a set of feeds, depending on the size. And then mattresses are about $1,000 to $2,000.
Yes, the mattress is a bit more chunky, but like a $40 pillowcase, you still need to get it imported, I'm guessing. Where do you get them done?
We've had multiple manufacturers over the years, and we have a very diverse supply chain now. We make our sheets in Bahrain, but we made them in India in years prior. We make our pillows in Denver, actually, with formerly incarcerated Coloradans making a living wage. Lowers recidivism, lowers homelessness. Very proud to make our pillow in Denver. We make our mattresses in Phoenix. We make our mattress protectors in Spain. And we make a couple other products here in America, our shirts, our eye masks, stuff like that. But it's a very diverse supply chain. And yeah, it's a huge pain in the ass. I started the company in 2018. 18 months after we shipped our first box, a little thing called COVID happened. And I was a 30-year-old first-time founder with 18 months of experience under my belt, building a team, raising capital, going through Techstars, just trying to figure it out. And I had to figure out the worst pandemic supply chain crisis in a century. That was a nightmare. And I remember particularly one day I woke up to a bunch of missed calls from one of my manufacturers who had some goods on the water. And I got a voicemail and it said, "Hey, Colin, we couldn't get into the port of Savannah. We waited for the last 2 weeks. The boat had to turn around and come back. So we dropped off your goods in Freeport." And I thought to myself, and I was like, Freeport? It was like 9 in the morning, and like a potato timer went off in my head. I was like, oh my God, the Bahamas? And so I had to like figure out how to get 2 containers worth of bed sheets from Freeport to Utah. And in fact, it's funny, whenever you hear people talk about inflation and stuff, this is what most scientists must feel like with climate change, or like what the doctors must have felt like with COVID, is people are like, the inflation is all because of person X, or it's all because of party Y. And it's, no, dude, it was the worst supply chain crisis in a century. And like vessels were waiting off of port for 3 weeks waiting to get into the ports. And it was a disaster. And you can't do that for 2 years and not have some type of repercussion in the years following. And I wish people could understand what a lagging versus leading indicator is, but that's asking way too much.
Probably. Also, I didn't know you could just do that. Drop it at a different port. Like they just.
I didn't know you could do it either. I didn't know that if I had a destination that I had booked and paid for, that my freight forwarder could just be like, "Good luck.
Too bad.
We figured this is closer than taking it back to Asia." But yeah, that was hilarious. That was brutal. And yeah, I would highly recommend people stick with software. In fact, my side project, the resume builder, has been a wonderful blessing to teach me how hard I've been working with the physical product companies. So I highly recommend people stick with software.
That's a good segue to your next thing, but
Yeah.
you did choose that very, it sounded like you were very analytical about it initially, right? You wanted a consumer thing, you wanted this price tag, you chose this because it sounded like it was a little bit not that competitive and boring. Use your brains to have a very interesting brand, all of that. It wasn't an accident, was it?
No, I think that part of building a business is picking what you're best in the world at. And I think I'm best in the world at branding. I think I'm best in the world at building a brand that people like and trust and believe in and want to support. And so for me, that meant a consumer brand with a consumer product. And that was the experience I had at the time. Looking back, I didn't know software engineers. I didn't know people that I could build something with that was virtual. I knew people that I could build something with that was physical. I had contacts in different companies that could give me mentorship and introduce me to the right people and the right agencies to get something off the ground that was real. But I didn't know anybody in the software space. Despite having gone through Techstars, I was a 27-year-old kid, and it's really hard to convince people to work with you if you don't have a track record. So the crowdfunding was actually a really great avenue to create credibility and viability and validity for this project that I was working on.
And then you also went and mentored at Textus as well, right?
Oh yeah, it's been a real thrill for me. When I got there in 2015 with the first company, I remember watching the pitch for the guy from SendGrid, which later got bought by Twilio. And I remember thinking like, God, what a thrill it must be to be able to say that your pitch is the pitch that Techstars uses for its new classes to teach them how to pitch. And then 2019, I went through Techstars with Sheets Giggles, and my pitch, speaking humbly, just brought the house down in Boulder. And you can go on YouTube and type in Sheets Giggles Techstars, and you could find my pitch from 2019. And now, since about 2020, Techstars has used my pitch not just for the Boulder program, but for the Miami program, for the Chicago program, for a lot of programs that I'm not privy to, right? They don't email me and be like, hey, Colin, we're using your pitch. But I've heard from a ton of founders that like, oh shit, you're the guy that I saw your pitch the first week. They showed us your pitch and one of the person's pitches. This is the perfect pitch. And so ever since 2020, I've done mentorship. And then ever since 2022, I've actually taught the Boulder class and the Miami class, which are my two home cities, how to pitch. And that's been really fun for me to be the pitch mentor. They call me the pitch wizard is what they call me. So
the pitch wizard. Sounds
very,
almost like baseball, but
I used to pitch, so that's fun.
It works out.
But yeah.
Okay, so next time I decide to go bananas and have a consumer brand, I guess I know whom to call about. Is this a good brand? Is this a?
I have 4 rules to a good brand name that I'll tell you. It has to be spellable, shareable, and memorable. It has to connote or denote what you do. It has to have good SEO, so if somebody searches for you, they find you, not a competitor. And preferably, if you're selling to Americans, you need a .com, because Americans are, I won't say what I'm thinking, but Americans are simple creatures, and they don't understand that other top-level domains exist, and they would like to buy from .com. And so those are the 4 rules to a good consumer brand name. I think with software and B2B software in particular, it's a little different. But I think that like having something in the name that is spellable, shareable, memorable, that connotes or denotes what you do, that people can search for and find easily is really important. And that's why johnsjohns.com is going to be huge. If anybody wants to start that with me, johnsjohns.com.
Are you writing a book about this? That sounds like it would be a nice book, and it would also be a really nice exercise in your marketing skills.
Maybe. I am so busy, dude, with everything that I have going on in my life. Like, I just moved to Miami from Denver after 10 years in Colorado a few months ago. I just celebrated 1 year married with my wife. I've got
Congratulations.
Sheets Giggles. Thank you. I appreciate it. I got Sheets and Giggles. I've got the resume builder. My wife and I started a compost project on the side in Colorado. It was a passion project and diverted 100,000 pounds of food waste from landfills. I keep busy. So writing a book, first I'll start my political career, and then I've got like a million irons in the fire. So maybe one day I'll write a book.
I was just thinking that's a nice way. If you do it well, you can reach like hundreds of thousands of people to more than you could through tech stores and stuff like that.
That's true.
But
If you can mentor me on that, I'd love to pick your brain on how to write a book and get it to people because that's actually something that I don't think I really know much about how to create a book, aside from the fact that you can self-publish on Amazon pretty easily nowadays. But yeah.
all right, I'll shoot you an email.
Cool.
What about your AI gig now? You're one of the million irons in the oven.
So I used to be a recruiter and I adore helping people with their career. It's something that I've always done in my spare time. I've probably done resumes for probably 100 friends and family, and I've done resumes for hundreds of strangers on the internet. And I've also created a resume template that I posted to Reddit 7 years ago in February 2018 on a random Saturday morning that has blown up and is now, I think, the third result on Google for resume template. And I've gotten a ton, I think 4 or 5 million downloads of that resume over the years. And it's just awesome. I've gotten tens of thousands of emails, private messages about it, people saying they got pay raises, changed their whole lives, their family's trajectory. In America, they've gotten health care for their kids, which is such a wonderful, unique cruelty that we have in our unemployment system. And I've been so blessed and grateful to be able to help so many people with their career. And a couple of years ago, I called my buddy Nate, who is my former recruiting partner, and he actually hired me at my first job, Bridgewater, and then hired me as a recruiter at the agency. So he's had a really outsized impact on my career trajectory. And I said, hey man, like, how much spare time do you have? He's very little. I have 2 children now. And I'm like, yeah, I know you do. But we're getting a lot of messages from people on Reddit about doing a resume review. And I always told them no, but they're breaking my heart. Somebody recently paid like $800 for a resume review and they still have a shitty resume. Could you find some time to help people? Because I don't have any time. And he said, yeah, I'll find some time. So he built a little website for us and we started doing one-on-one reviews. I jumped in here and there and did 1 or 2. I started doing maybe 1 a week in late 2023. They take 2 or 3 hours, and we were charging $100 and $150 and $200 because the volume of requests was enormous, and we just didn't have the time to do everybody's. And we had gotten such an incredible reputation on Reddit from years of me answering questions. Like I probably answered 10,000 questions over 7 years on Reddit, all for free, right? And then we started doing the one-on-one reviews. We started getting really tremendous feedback and testimonials. And it was great because I could tell people like, look, dude, I don't do this for my rent. I don't do this for my mortgage payment. I'm only doing this to help you. If you don't want to work with me, please, God, don't waste my time and don't work with me. And people loved the realness of that. And then sometime last year, maybe a year ago, Nate called me and he was like, hey, what if we took what we're doing and trained an AI to do it instead? And I was like, oh my God, that'd be amazing because I would help a lot more people. We could do it more cheaply and I wouldn't have to spend any time on this at all. So how do I do that? And so he's a software engineer. He took my advice, my training, everything that I've done over the years for resumes, for all the content I've written, and we put it through an AI and it is wonderful. And so we put it live at sheetsresume.com. I'm the Sheets and Giggles guy, right? Just like the MyPillow guy. That's who I am. I'm the Sheets guy. And so now at sheetsresume.com, you can do the resume builder. That's been helping thousands of people every month. Makes me super happy. And for anyone who can't afford it, we have $9, $29, and $99 options. 1 day, 1 week, 1 lifetime. Can't do it in your second lifetime. And if you can't afford it at all, we just give it to you for free. Because, like I said, it's not my rent payment, not my mortgage payment. And we give it away to probably 10 or 12 people a day for free. And that's awesome. Like so many people, just lives changed from a very simple thing like that. And we built a mock interviewer. We built a cover letter writer. If we had more time, we would do something like a job board. But I've got a lot of ideas with that in the future. But for right now, I'm very happy with where it's at.
Man, that is awesome. I love this story.
Yeah, it's super fun. I honestly, dude, like getting emails. Selling bed sheets is great. I've always been like a very, not to be like a typical founder, self-important asshole, but like I've always really tried to like give back as I built the company. And Sheets and Giggles, we donated about $250,000, like over $250,000 we've donated to charity since I started the company. And it's a small amount, but like it's very meaningful for a 6-7-year-old company. We've planted tens of thousands of trees, and we donated to Earth Justice and World Wildlife Fund and St. Jude's Hospital. And so the sheets are great, and we give back. But God, the cascading effect of getting somebody an incredible new job, the impact it has on their lives and their kids, and like it's just the best.
No, it sounds amazing. Plus, 99% of the AI applications that I see are just
Crap.
bloody, shoehorned, no apparent reason. Now I have to talk to a chatbot before it will let me in to see the frequently asked questions. It's just a mess. So
Honestly,
it's heartening to see someone actually using
you're
it.
totally right. It's a mess. It's such a messy ecosystem right now, and like I love that I have an AI that helps people find jobs. And the main differentiators, there's 3 core differentiators with our resume builder versus everybody else out there. Number one is that it's built by me, who people know my background, they see my LinkedIn, like they know I'm not doing this because I want to, or like I'm trying to skim money off of them. They know I'm doing it because I really give a sheet. And then the second main differentiator is that we'll straight up do it to you for free. If you can't afford it, just email us and that's it. We give you full access. And that's, I think, a huge trust builder with people. And the third differentiator is that we only do one format. One. Every other website out there, every resume builder. Oh, do you want blue? Do you want yellow? Do you want 2 columns? Do you want... And it's like, they're selling sneakers to you, right? That's what I do with my bed sheets. Do you want sage green? Do you want blue? Do you want white? Do you want... They're selling to you. We're like, no. You are lost. You're coming to us for advice. Don't make any more decisions. Here's what your resume should look like. Here's our reasoning. Here's our philosophy. And if you agree with it, use our stuff. If you don't, go find someone else's stuff. But this is our reasoning and our philosophy. And also if you don't want to pay for it, here's a free template that you can write yourself. That you don't have to use our AI. You can write it yourself. And that has been like, I think the biggest differentiator is we don't let people make choices. We don't let them bold shit. We don't let them italicize stuff. We don't let them, it's like, you're lost, get on Lost, use this.
Love it. Yeah. And that's sheetsresume.com?
Sheetsresume.com, yeah. I'm trying to think of a catchier name for it, but I think I like the kitschy. The brand right now is pretty funny because it's like, this guy sell bed sheets for a living, and it's like he's doing this. It's pretty funny. I like stuff like that's very random and Seinfeld-y. So.
And where do people follow you specifically?
Dude, I am not out there right now. I try to tell myself that I get one go around in this form, and then I go dissipate and become rocks and clouds again and shit. And so, like, I'm trying to not...
Giggles.
Yeah, and Giggles, yeah. And I'm trying to be off X, be off Threads, be off Instagram. I would say I've got, like, LinkedIn is where you can message me. Colin McIntosh, Sheets and Giggles, I'm very easy to find. Or I do have a YouTube channel now for Sheets Resume, where I do drop occasional videos about resume and job hunting advice. And then I do have a nascent podcast called Sheet Talk, that I have not given any love to, but that I will eventually make more episodes for.
Colin, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks for coming. Yeah. See you next time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.